Our goal is to produce garments that women wear regularly for years. And really, at the end of the day, that's where sustainability is at its best.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Make Good Fashion podcast. Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be back with you guys. So, as we kick off this brand new year, I couldn't think of a better way to start than with an inspiring brand story. And today I'm sitting down with Gina and Margot. They're the mother daughter duo behind Luxaire, a primarily direct to consumer brand that's redefining women's apparel. What started as Gina's frustration with uncomfortable, high maintenance clothing during her career as a psychologist has grown into a seven-figure business focused on comfort, sustainability, and timeless design. As with any business, their journey hasn't been without challenges. From navigating manufacturing to mastering digital marketing, Gina and Margot built their brand from the ground up while staying true to their core values. And today, they're sharing exactly how they did it. In this episode, we'll dive into their origin story, the strategies they've used to scale their brand, and the lessons they've learned along the way. There are so many nuggets in this episode, so make sure to stay till the very end. Let's go ahead and jump in with the founders of Luxaire. So I have Margot and Gina here, the founders of Luxaire. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. So excited to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
We're
thank you
excited.
for having us.
Yes. So I checked out your brand and it's so beautiful. I love that you guys are creating women's apparel that focuses on creating these elevated staple pieces and incorporates sustainability. So I want to hear a little bit about how this concept came to be. And you guys are a mother-daughter duo, which I love. So how you guys came together and decided to start this brand.
Okay, well, I will start because the journey started with me. A
Okay.
number of years ago, I had a day job as a psychologist, four kids at home, loved to wear beautiful clothes, and was frustrated at how uncomfortable and high maintenance they were.
Mm.
And so I started this journey of trying to create like an innerwear product to make it easier for me to enjoy those clothes. Fast forward a couple of years, and I realized the challenge in women's fashion wasn't the perfect innerwear piece, but really it was that women's fashion needed to be chic, but more comfortable and easier maintenance. And so this is around the end of 2019. I started looking at how can I create garments, ready to wear garments that have those attributes to them. And this also happened to be when Margot was a senior at Parsons,
It's true.
who
Mm.
was working at a direct to consumer brand in the shoe industry. And I'll let you take over.
I ended up joining, I guess, originally during my senior year of college, and my mom was still kind of in limbo with Luxaire, kind of figuring out exactly what she wanted to do with it. And having that experience, it made me realize that there's just so many different ways that you can sell a product, especially nowadays. And so I left that job and started working with my mom. And then COVID hit and we kind of took a pause and then realized that really our best option moving forward and what would make the most sense for our brand is to be a direct to consumer brand.
Mm.
And so at the end of 2020, I officially, I guess, joined as the co-founder of our now direct consumer ready to wear brand. And that's how it went.
That's amazing. And Gina, you had a psychology background. I know
Right.
Margot has that fashion piece. But how did you go about finding, just to start off, finding the right factory to produce this idea that you had? And how did you navigate that?
Good question, because it's a very different universe. But at the end of the day, I had gotten my doctorate in New York City. So I was comfortable with the city and I know how to do research. So I did a lot of research in fabrics and interviewed a lot of different manufacturers, Long Island, Brooklyn, New Jersey, and once I found the fabrics that I wanted to use, which we'll go into what those are later, but they're kind of a niche fabric. Finding a factory that actually can do refined work with those fabrics is really what led us in the end to the manufacturer we're working with now.
I'm curious about what that interview process looks like with manufacturers, because I'm sure people are wondering, like, what kind of questions do you even ask to make sure that the manufacturing partners you're working with can produce the type of quality you're looking for? And it's really a relationship that turns into this long-term partnership. So what did that look like?
Right. It is a huge relationship, which, is very important, which is why, for brands that offshore, it's for us being a smaller brand, it's hard to even think about how would we translate this to, production like that. And we're not looking at that, but because that trust and that relationship is so important. And first of all, I had factories who had said, yes, we can work with this fabric. And then I would have them sew something and it was horrible. And so, right then and there, my fabric's expensive. We're not working with you. Or I
Mhm.
would have them do a small production and there would be flaws and there wouldn't be a lot of accessibility to the people in the factory. I didn't always trust them. I felt like they weren't as transparent as they needed to be. And so Boss Studio, which is who we work with now, I was introduced to through, a mutual connection in the industry. And there was, right away, just a connection with the woman who owns the factory. Her sewers are career sewers.
Mhm.
She doesn't have a lot of turnover, and they take pride in the work that they do. And they do a lot of patterning and samples for very high end designers around who then often offshore their production. She does production for a few small brands, and ours happens to be one of them. But we're also fortunate to have our studio space connected to our manufacturer. So
Oh, that's amazing.
we're all right
Convenient.
there. So pull back the curtain, when we've had some customers come in and, want to see, touch, feel, try things on, we can walk them over and they can see the garments being sewn right there.
Yeah, and how did that happen? How did you guys get a studio? That's like a dream. How did you get your
It is a
studio in
dream.
the same place?
Again, a little trial and error, but
Yeah.
Definitely.
eventually the space that was connected became available. And although it wasn't really in our budget to take on, we decided that the opportunity could not be passed. And
Mm,
so we jumped on it. And I think we're both very happy that
Definitely.
we can do our photography there. We do fulfilling. I mean, it's really, again, this will come out when we're talking about sustainability and reducing your carbon footprint and
Oh,
everything else,
yeah.
but it really is an ideal situation for a small, brand.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And Margot, I'm curious what your background was at Parsons and how that kind of contributed to what your mom already started, how you were able to come in. So what was it that you studied and how was that beneficial?
So I studied strategic design and management. So I actually graduated from Parsons with a business degree. I was at a direct consumer brand that focused on luxury women's shoes that were very comfortable, but also beautiful. So it was a nice segue for me joining my mom at Luxaire. And I would say most of my experience actually that prepped me for what I'm doing now and what I've been doing for the past few years was working at such a small startup that was like when I started there, I was one of like 7 people and I was an
Mm,
intern, but if you're the only intern, you have to do everything. And
mhm.
so I saw the things that they were doing that did really well and that were successful. And then I also saw little things that I don't know if I'd call them mistakes, but things at least that I
Learning opportunities.
yes. Yeah, learning up and things that maybe for myself, I'd be like, "Ah, I don't know, maybe I'd do this differently." And so with that experience, I learned like I started to understand the back end of Shopify. I was able to work on different advertisements for them,
Mhm.
and I actually ended up becoming one of their e-com models because it turns out I'm sample shoe size.
Wow,
And
so
so
you literally did everything.
everything. And so
Yeah.
again, when I joined my mom
Which was important training for her
Oh,
next
yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so then from there, and I had done like some graphic design, styling, like anything you name, like I did it. And so then when joining Luxaire, right away, I knew I had a nice camera. I knew how to take pictures, and I'd had a little bit of modeling experience. So I literally just went and ran around with a tripod, taking videos and pictures. And that's kind of how
Of herself.
of myself, obviously.
Wow.
And then editing and putting them into marketing
Yeah. Or just the
tools.
website, like
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I always recommend for people to try to work for smaller brands because it's so true. You get your hands kind of like on every little thing and you learn so much because of that. So I can
Mhm.
imagine how much that kind of translated into what you guys are doing now.
Oh, 100%. And understanding the and business as a whole, like, of course, there were different things that I had to learn or that I couldn't do, but having that background of just having to, yeah, like touch every aspect of a business was really important when
Yeah,
joining my mom.
love that. So you guys mentioned producing locally in New York and having your
Mhm.
studio there as well. And so I'm curious, Gina, why it was important when you started the brand to seek out local manufacturing as opposed to finding something offshores.
Well, part of that was my philosophy in if we could create jobs here in the United States, I wanted to do that. But I'm not a professionally trained designer. I learned to
Or
sew
production manager.
production manager. I was of the age where you learn to sew and knit growing up and
Mhm.
through 4-H, whatever. But so I needed to have somebody who would really work with me
Mm,
and would be open to teaching me as we went along because we still have a lot to learn, but we're constantly learning. And when I started out, I really had a lot to learn. And to be with somebody who enjoyed that collaboration, still respected me, and I could trust not to take advantage of me because there are
mm,
plenty people out there who are happy to
definitely.
take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So I just needed to have that relationship, and therefore being local. And New York is my favorite place in the whole world. So when we started, I was not living here in New York at that time, but
Mm.
we are now. And so it just made sense that this is where we would do it.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly with you guys finding that studio there as well. I'm
Right.
curious for that first production run, how did you guys go about funding it? Did you bootstrap? Did you take out funding? How did you navigate that?
We have mostly bootstrapped it. So, early on, I did, again, with the innerwear, kind of what does it even call?
Not a GoFund.
Not a,
No,
it wasn't a GoFundMe, but I'm forgetting what
I'm
the platform is.
Kickstarter?
yeah.
Kickstarter. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
But again, what I had no concept of even what a business was really at that point. It was really me just kind of playing around in this space, again, living in Michigan, day job, 4 kids at home.
Mm,
And so anyway, getting to where we were when we were actually okay, we can do a business out of this and doing the ready to wear. It's been self-funded. So we've had to take out some loans, but as long as we continue to grow and we feel like it's a good investment, it's been worth it.
yeah, that's good. And you mentioned the Kickstarter. I want to touch on that a little bit. When you did that crowdfunding campaign, were you able to successfully fund it to get that initial, innerwear going?
Mhm. We had
Okay.
again, sites were small. I was so out of the realm of apparel living in Western Michigan, having a life that was filled with other obligations. So it was kind of preschool for me, if you will, figuring all of that out. And it really was when we moved, I guess 2017, our family moved out to Margot was already here in New York, but we moved out to the New York City area where I was really able to spend more time interviewing and getting to know, the manufacturers where I was able to zero in on, okay, this is who we're going to use, this is what we're going to make, this is going to be a business. And so that came later. And then we didn't do any Kickstarter or anything for the kind of I'll call it a relaunch, but the launch of Luxeire as a ready-to-wear direct-to-consumer business.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that you were just learning, but just to successfully fund a Kickstarter even in the beginning before you relaunch is pretty incredible because that is a business in itself, I feel. You have to market it, you have
It's
to.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you are on it. So one thing I really love about what you guys are building with Luxaire is that you guys really, you hear sustainability thrown around and it's kind of become a buzzword and almost like a marketing thing within the industry. But at Luxaire, it seems like this is something you guys really genuinely prioritize in the things that you make. And you see that through your fabric selections and things like that. So I'm curious, how did you guys incorporate that and how challenging was it to find the materials that you needed to truly make this brand sustainable?
Well, for me, in researching the fabrics, again, initially in the hobby side of my life, I tried a number of different fabrics until I found one that came from a mill that was perfectly transparent, was of absolute highest quality,
Mm,
was produced under the most eco responsibility practices, and that's Jersey Loma Molina. So we've toured there, we've visited, we meet with the people. They are perfectly transparent online and are well respected and award winners in the area of sustainability. So
And they're based in Bergamo, Italy. So Italian fabrics,
yeah, beautiful,
high
beautiful town.
quality. Yeah.
So anyway, so that was very important to us. And then moving, there's so much in life in general, there's so much waste, but you realize in the fashion industry, there's so much waste. You think you're going to
mhm.
need something and then you don't. And then what do you do with the stuff that you don't need? Do you
Yeah.
donate it? You can't find someone to, whatever. So really looking at, okay, there are plastics, there are hangers, how do we reuse all of that? So starting with the sourcing of our fabric and then having a manufacturer who is looking at what is the yield? Can we make something out of the waste?
Mm.
Are there other brands that want to use some of the waste to make pockets for their garments, the inner layers or whatever? I mean, we're open to any of that. So just all down the line, trying to reduce how much waste we are creating and the carbon footprint as far as things getting picked up and transported here and transported there. So, we reuse all of our hangers. We have our garments come, I mean, they just roll the garments across the hall from our manufacturer, but
Right.
we have the clothes, but they're bundled in, the plastic protector, but we reuse all of that. So we're trying, any way we can, we are trying to reduce the waste.
And
I
we
mean,
can
there still is waste, sadly, but it's the reality. But we are, again, perfectly transparent about these are still the pressure points, and this is where we've got it down. So being small and again, stationed where we are, it makes it easier to tackle than if we were bigger offshoring or whatever.
we also do like all of our production runs are really small. We want to avoid wasting fabric, garments, anything. And so keeping the production run small and restocking more as needed, which is made possible because we are so close and we manufacture locally. Like most big, especially larger brands, but brands that are offshoring their production more often than not have to have like what they have to order a ton of a product and then hope that they sell it, where we still hope that we sell whatever we order, but we
Sure.
can do it at a smaller scale and then see like, oh, this product is in demand and we're going to order another round accordingly because we can get it within 2 months. Like it'll be fully
Yeah,
finished.
sometimes 4 weeks,
Yeah,
depending
depending.
on the
Yeah,
style.
exactly. Like a
That's a
turtleneck is takes because it doesn't have buttons and everything. It's only a
yeah.
few weeks.
Yeah, that's a dream turnaround. And like you
Dream
said,
turnaround.
you
Right.
can eliminate a lot of waste in that way
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
planning.
And again, an example of the small production requests, we had a customer who requested more of an extended size in a garment that we hadn't stocked. And so we put in an order for 3 of that garment in the extended size, and we're not penalized. Our
Mhm.
manufacturer just makes those for us
Yeah.
Yeah.
and brings them
Everything's
over. So that's nice. That's nice for the customer. It's nice for us.
yeah.
It's a win-win.
That's amazing. And you guys are doing great with your efforts. And, I don't think you can there's no way to be 100% perfect in your, sustainability practices. There would be so many things to consider. And like you guys said, there's always going to be waste. And so I think that you guys are doing the best that you can with what you have, which is amazing. I'm curious, going back to the materials that you're using and this factory that you guys found in Italy, how did you guys find this in the first place? Did you guys go to any textile shows or how did you guys get connected?
I did go to a lot of textile shows early on, and I've always been a fabric obsessive person. I found that the textile shows tended to be overwhelming and offering a lot of fabrics where the quality is questionable and you don't know what the mill practices are in getting those products out to customers. And so I ended up in reading, Women's Wear Daily and a lot of industry news,
Mm,
coming across Jersey Loma Lena, and it was an article written about them as a, responsible company and their technical fabrics. That most of the fabrics we use are technical fabrics, and then we make structured garments out of those, which is kind of our interesting connection there. But so it was just researching and then reaching out and being persistent and making sure I got heard and responded to and had samples sent to me and started playing around with the fabrics to see what can I do and how do they hold up over time. Sustainability, part of sustainability is it's not just how you make the garment, but how long does your garment last and how many
mhm,
times is your garment worn by the person who buys it?
mhm.
And our goal is to produce garments that women wear regularly for years. And really, at the end of the day, that's where sustainability is at its best.
Yeah. And I think you can also see that in the way that you guys design your garments as well. These are like essential staple pieces that can be
Mhm.
worn
Right.
kind of in and out of season, which I think speaks to that sustainability as well, where it's just timeless. Like you can probably pass this down and, to a daughter,
Well, I
a
do
friend.
love I am a customer service person, so I love it when I have women, some of them have become good friends of mine
Oh, love it.
via email. But when
Love
they
that.
need to reorder something because their daughters came home and stole half their Luxaire garments, and I'm like, "Yes, that's
True.
what we wanna do."
Yes, you want to create pieces that are worthy of being stolen. That's perfect.
Right.
Exactly.
I love that. I'm curious with that too, just hearing that customer feedback, how has that kind of helped shape, how you design in the garments that you produce?
Well, in a number of ways. I mean, part of it is we have some very loyal customers who I regularly interact with. And because there is a relationship there, I joke with there's not really a relationship, but we do interact. They let me know, any chance you're coming out with this color or what
Mm,
would you think of offering one of these? Or so, I'll say, let me talk to my partner about that and we'll see. And obviously, we can't do knee jerk like, "Oh, someone wants this color, let's do it." That's not how it
mm.
works, but their feedback gets directly to the
Yeah.
owner,
Yeah.
founder. So that goes a long way, and they know
Yeah,
that.
And of
that's
course
amazing.
we can't design for everyone. And I think that's one of like the
Absolutely.
lessons we've learned too, and especially while building the brand is that when we started, it was kind of like, okay, we have this like hero product and how do we build something around that? And then so we've tried out some different products based on the customer feedback and what we think would make sense. And it's interesting even seeing what sells because some people will request something and we talk about it, we think about it, and we put it out there, but maybe a lot of our customers are looking for something else. And
Right.
so it's
Mm,
always a trial and error. But
yeah.
I think as we've grown and our customer base has, I mean, grown as well. So it makes it easier to see, okay, what sells and what will make sense for our customer on our next round of styles, like whatever we're coming out with.
Right. I think that
Sure.
women come to Luxeire for a very specific offering.
Mhm.
And our hero product being the classic button up is
Mhm.
not the most forgiving top
No.
out there. It's a very slim fit, kind of sexy, chic, professional for sure. But when the fabric is, it's meant to be form fitting. Everybody wants to wear that and wear it well, but not everybody can. So we've offered some different fabrics. We've offered some fuller cuts. At the end of the day, people don't want the fuller cuts. They want
No.
to look good in the
I
classic.
do actually wear it a lot.
I was going to say, some of the things that don't sell, Margot and I wear regularly.
Yeah.
We love them. We're like, come
Yeah.
on, ladies.
But they're
Can't you see how
yeah.
practical this is?
I
But they're
I
tough.
can
They're tough with
imagine.
sales because what differentiates our garments and what really brings people to end up purchasing and coming to our website is the types of ads that I make that are like showing how slim fit the garment is and also
Mm,
like how stretchy it is, but it's also structured. So something like women are looking for this garment, they don't even think it exists, and then our ad pops up, and they definitely feel seen in that way.
yeah.
And okay, this is what I've been looking for. We're gonna give it a go.
Right.
Yeah, but that's key, like understanding
Yeah.
your customer, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
like you said, you can't serve everyone and you have to focus
Mhm.
on knowing who that person is and serving them well and giving them exactly what they're looking for. So
Right.
that's
Exactly.
great.
Right. And when we don't serve them well, I get to hear it.
And
So I understand.
I get to look at the numbers.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
I get to use my psychology to try to turn things around and make it a positive encounter.
I love that. You're perfect for that customer service position. I love it. So, considering the fact that you guys are using these high quality sustainable materials and producing locally, I know that can drive up cost to quite a bit. And I guess you guys are also positioning yourself as more of an elevated
Mhm.
product to begin with. So the price point would already be there. But I'm curious, how do you effectively communicate and educate your customer on the value proposition of your product and help them to understand the value of sustainability, understand what they're getting? Because if you go to your website, obviously you can read and see that, but you're seeing a lot of people are just seeing the product,
Mhm.
right off bat. They're seeing the
Right.
price point. So, how do you guys do that?
That is a constant challenge.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah.
If we, if we were really nailing that the way we need to, the sky is the limit. But we do best with women who are, older demographic, I'll say, my age, 30, 40 to 65, who tend to be professional, well educated. They're thoughtful about what they get.
Mhm.
Many of them could have whatever they wanted. We have some clients in very high places, but they are thoughtful about what kind of garments they're going to get. And
Mhm.
so the price point for them really is not an issue. We are offering our products as low as we possibly can. In fact, so low we cannot do wholesale
Yeah.
with our current prices.
Mm.
If we were looking at a comparable brand, I won't say names out there, but they would be charging for the amount it costs for us to make a garment.
Mhm.
Comparable brands would charge twice the retail price that we are charging. So we are absolutely trying to sell at the lowest price point and make it accessible to people as we can. But, it's the women who, again, could have anything. They're used to being able to buy really high end garments and
Mhm.
they get Luxaire on and they think, you know what, this is it.
You guys know that target customer
Mhm.
really well. You just described this woman who has this, more of a disposable income and is used to buying more luxury items. But I'm curious how you target that woman too,
Mhm.
and again, how you would communicate, the value of the product. How do you storytell? How do you educate them on what the value of the product is?
I'm going to turn that over to Margot, other than to say that I love when I see a big name come across our sales channels, that within a week they come back and they order a lot more. We have
Love
some
that.
customers who have, 60 classic button ups,
Wow.
It's a
multiples
lot.
in every color, because that's the shirt they are wearing every single day. They're wearing it on TV, they're wearing it on podcasts. So I mean that's rewarding. How do we get that message out to them, Margot?
So how did we acquire said customer? So the way that we've been advertising and just how we communicate, even on our website, in the end, I've been testing, I mean, ads since we started being direct to consumer. I mean, in like end of 2020, early 2021, started running different Facebook ads with different, some of them being focused more on sustainability, some of them being fit, some of them like, I
Mm.
just kind of created the different ads based on different selling points and was testing different audiences. And in the end, what works the best was actually just the fit in like in video form, showing the stretch, showing how it looks tucked in, untucked, everything with voiceovers and a caption about the different aspects of the product. And also saying within that advertisement, almost always we put like that it's made in New York, it's a sustainable fabric. And then on our website, we have, and I don't know how often people are doing a full deep dive, but on our website, we do give details on the types of fabrics that we use. We actually even use like their technical names. A lot of other brands are not as transparent about that.
Right. We name our mill, we name our
Yeah.
manufacturer. I mean, there are no secrets here.
Mhm.
There's no Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. I mean, we're what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think women do appreciate that. And we've shown as well on social media, we have some behind the scenes videos, photos, and we did actually visit our mill in Italy. And so
Amazing.
sadly, they were not letting us take any video or photos. I
Oh
was
no.
so upset about that. I was like, because it's so
It's
high tech.
really cool.
Yeah, it's incredible,
That's
and
amazing.
seeing, like, how clean it was, I mean, it's in a beautiful location, and learning more about their mission and all the fabrics that they make was amazing, and I would've loved to have been able to take more video and show it to our
Right.
customer base, but alas.
It would help tell the story
Yeah,
about why this is a luxury product, you
yeah.
know?
We can always speak to, like, the made in New York, that it's fully made in New York, and it's not like, there's no outsourcing. The only thing that's not made in New York is our fabric, which is made in Italy.
Yeah.
Uh,
It also speaks to the quality. And I love that you went in and started testing ads. I find that some people, they may give ads a go and they feel like, okay, this is not effective, but sometimes you just kind of have to, tweak things to see like
mhm.
what customers are responding to. And I'm guessing you ran the ads yourself or
I
okay.
did, yeah.
Yeah. And so on the back end, you probably were tweaking with, the income level and all of those demographics. Is
Mhm.
that something that you kind of did to also target those women, put in those specifics?
To an extent, yes. When it came to running ads, when we started, it was like I literally looked up on YouTube, like, how do I do this? And
Wow.
so filmed a bunch, took a bunch of photos and did voiceovers on like the same video, different things, put captions. And at first I would put age demographic, like put an age range, I put just women, focused on a few different like cities, and then put income level, then interest based. And then eventually, once you start actually acquiring customers or at least clicks, you're then able to start retargeting and creating lookalike audiences. A ton of that in the way that you do that now on Facebook and Instagram. So on Meta, for example, has changed. Like that landscape is constantly changing, which is a headache and a half when you're the
Sure.
one running it and running the website and everything else. But they've gotten, I would say Meta's gotten definitely a lot better at targeting, but it's also more saturated. So it's more expensive. But
Right.
yeah, we did a lot of, I would say a lot of, it was mostly targeting in cities and some of it was income level, but I would say a lot of it was interest based, targeting professional women, women that like luxury fashion. And then from there, once we really honed in on like what was the video, what was the photo, whatever we were using, then once we got some purchases, we were able to target people like our purchasers, which, but again, this was at this point 4 years ago. And
It's a different world
It's a
now
different world.
in so many ways.
Yeah, this was like
I'm
this
sure.
was 4 years ago. It was before like the whole privacy setting stuff on Apple
Yeah. Yeah.
happened, and I was like, "Wow, look at this return. This is crazy." And then the privacy settings happened. And it was like, "Okay, we gotta scale back and kind of redo some certain things." So it's an always evolving landscape.
I will say after I visited your site, I saw your retargeting ads, and so they're working
Perfect.
great. Yeah. But also
That's what
just
we like to see.
noticing, yeah, the photography too, like I think that also communicates to the customer you're looking for, because as soon as I see the imagery, I'm like, yeah, I totally know who this is for. This
Mhm.
feels like a luxury product. So I think, you guys effectively communicate that story through that as well. So that's amazing. And also, so Luxaire has grown into a seven-figure business, which is amazing. That's an incredible accomplishment, you guys. And so definitely want to celebrate that. But I'm curious, getting to that seven-figure mark, what were some like key moments that kind of took you there, or some strategies that you guys use? Maybe ads would be included to get you to that point, because I think that's a point that a lot of startups kind of aim to be at.
I would say, well, first of all, even when we were still direct to consumer, when we had started being direct to consumer, we still had some of our more, I would say, intimate apparel layering pieces. We make a lot of layering pieces like the turtleneck I'm wearing, but it's all ready to wear now. And I would say within that year, we completely discontinued those. They also weren't a sustainable fabric. They were tech
Mm.
fabric, but they were not.
Beautiful fabric,
Yeah,
but yeah, not
but just
sustainable.
not sustainable, and we decided that was really important to us. And so making that switch to focusing on our ready to wear, I would say, was definitely a pivotal moment, and creating designs that really when it came to photography and advertising, you could show them as ready to wear garments. It's huge. And our best seller again was our classic button up, and that was the product that really,
That was our first ready-to-wear product.
yeah, and
Oh, wow.
it took off. That was
And
the that
it
was
remains our
yeah.
best.
It's still our best seller.
Wow.
And so I would say when I started running ads, we started getting purchases, thank goodness. And then it was once I started doing some actually more like UGC ads, I'd be like talking to the camera, but showing the stretch, doing voiceovers, videos, and really honing in on like what was most important to say and keeping them short. I think that was really important, and that was a really good strategy for us, and really focusing on that main product. For a while, we had other garments that we were also trying to sell, but the ads weren't doing as well. And so what I decided was that, okay, whatever about the other garments, we need to focus on this hero product and get as many people to buy this shirt as possible. And if they like it, they're going to come back and buy our other products. And so, even to this day, the majority of our advertising, the majority of our ads are of our classic button up. And that kind of brings people in. And then from there, they come back and try out other styles.
I think that's so smart, just honing in on what's working well. I think
Mhm.
sometimes, as designers, it's like, oh, but I really love this piece and you want other people to love it. But it's like, honey, if it's not working, like you got to
Yeah,
focus on what's
exactly.
doing
I'm
good.
still trying to learn that lesson. It's
It's
so
true.
hard.
It's a
Hard one.
constant debate when creating new garments. She's like, "Oh, I would love to do this." I was like, "Well, I can't sell that product." So
Yeah. It's so hard. I'm a creative,
it
so I
is.
understand the struggle. And how long into the business did you guys hit that point? When did you guys finally hit the seven-figure mark?
I'd say
Last year, wasn't it?
yeah, I guess technically end of last year.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
last
was
year.
that 4 years? Did you get
Well,
20?
3. I
3
mean, in
years.
2020, when we kind of thought, "Okay, this is how we're gonna go,"
Yeah.
we barely did anything that year
Gotcha.
because of COVID. It just felt wrong to try to hawk our wares while people around the world were dying, you know? And so it really was kind of a pause and let's reconsider. And, we did a number of things to kind of help in the COVID space with other businesses that were local. So
Yeah.
although conceptually that's kind of when we were like, okay, let's go, we were more doing business
Mhm.
in 2021.
Yeah, I'd say 2021. It was like end of 2020. I'd been like the fall of 2020, I was talking to my parents and I was like, guys, online shopping right now because of COVID and because of just the online presence in general, but is booming. I was like, we have to start running ads. I think we could really like get somewhere with this. And the
Mhm.
answer was no for several months.
Oh,
And
no.
then finally by
It was a
December,
moral dilemma
yeah. And financial. It was
and
like,
a financial.
yeah, I would say
Yeah.
it was more
It was
of
both.
it was more a financial dilemma. But
Yeah.
because in the end, it's like, okay, if you don't understand the space, and I understood the space, but I hadn't personally run Facebook ads, but I had seen so many businesses like have success with that I was like, this has to be our answer because going around to brick and mortar stores, it takes so much time. You're chasing dollars, like, and you're not controlling your story. And in the end, with being in a brick and mortar store, some stores are really good at selling products, others aren't. If they don't understand your product, it's going to be a tough
Mm.
sell.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
the
so
other
true.
side is our customer shops online. So whether or not she did 8 years ago, maybe not, but she's busy. She's got things to do. She
Mhm.
finds what she likes and she sticks with it. And so that is really, although we want to have more face to face opportunities, and we'll be working on that next year, really, our customer will always best be reached
On the
online.
internet. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was actually bringing me to my next question, which
Mhm.
I think you answered, but I'm going to ask anyway. As far as, the sales channels go, was online the main channel for those sales that came in? Or did you guys do anything else other than your e-commerce store? I know you said wholesale you're not able to do because of the margins, but yeah, what did that look like?
We have done a few wholesale partnerships, very, very small.
Okay.
Again, looking at it not as this is a way to, excuse me, make money, but as a way to market our brand and get more awareness with populations that we might not otherwise reach.
Mhm.
But it really, we are very selective and have found that there's wisdom to being selective. But yes, the bulk of our sales hugely is online.
Like I would say 99% probably,
And then
if not
1%
higher.
wholesale.
Yeah. Like
Gotcha.
the wholesale is often like a very small like specialty store. We're actually in a bar studio in Connecticut because our like pieces like this are really because their technical fabrics are actually great
Mhm.
for athletic wear. But for the most part, yeah, direct to consumer. I mean, we've some of the experiences we've had, even with the smaller retailers, have been that will give them like a small. We also again we do small runs, so we don't have the inventory to support being doing wholesale with a larger retailer, but we've sent over product and then you're waiting for forever to get paid. And especially when you're a self-funded company, it
It's
is
not an option.
not an option. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
and when you have a small team, then we're the ones having to email them and hound them as well. And to have to do that is frustrating. And so being able to control the narrative, to control where your product is going and how you're getting paid, you're able to do that when you're direct to consumer. And it helps you, I think, better understand your customer because you're getting all that information.
Right. The questions are
Yeah.
directed to us, the problems are directed to us, the praise is directed to us. So we have a
Mhm.
better sense of, how are we landing with the women we want to reach?
Mhm.
Yeah. And let me ask you this because I know a lot of brands desire to do direct to consumer sales, but just have a really difficult time funneling those customers into the website, even through ads. And sometimes that's because they don't know how to run them effectively or even know like what type of budget to put in for ads. So, how did you guys figure out what the proper budget was to start testing out with ads?
That answer has evolved.
Interesting. I can answer that one. So in full transparency, when I was starting at like such a low budget just because one, I was given no option. But two, I didn't really know. I had no idea how it was going to go. I had done some research before and seeing like, okay, what should you, with like this budget, return should you expect? But these are all general numbers. Depending on what kind of product you're advertising, that
Mhm.
totally changes. So we have a more expensive product, and we're also reaching an older demographic. We're just like Gen X boomers. Like I'm not advertising to myself. I'm advertising to my mom's peers. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, how often are they on the internet? And just that made trying to figure out a budget and what made sense for us more challenging. But I think if you have a more expensive product, you should expect to spend more money to acquire a customer. Like if
Mm.
I was selling a $20 shirt, I would I would need basically my budget could be super large, but I would need to sell a lot more shirts. Where when you are selling a shirt that's over $200, you can expect that a lot of people are going to click on that ad and be like, too much money, not going to go. And so while it costs more for us to acquire a customer, they're spending more money on the site. And so, yeah, I guess our budget is kind of all over the place. It kind of
Yeah.
depends.
Right, and it varies. I mean, you have a company yourself,
Mhm.
so you're in that space. Even the cost for running ads is variable depending on the
Totally.
year and who else is advertising and how crowded that
Mhm.
space
And a
is.
time of year.
So anyway, it's constantly evolving. We are really trying to look more at the whole profitability economics as opposed to just growth. And,
Mhm.
I mean, they're just, always with a new company, where do you prioritize? Is it in growth? Is it profitability? Is it somewhere in the middle? And so that continues to evolve.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great. And so far, just running this brand now, it's been, let's say, 4 years now. Is
Mhm.
this the fourth
Hmm.
year? Yeah. So, what kind of, I know, I don't even know how to frame this question because I know just running a business in general, you're facing challenges on a daily basis. It's almost like you're in the business of problem solving. But I'm curious, what has been your biggest challenge so far, and how have you guys overcome that?
I guess I would say one of the challenges was actually a specific one was very early on when we started selling a ton of product. In 2021, we didn't have enough fabric to support the demand. And then we had ordered a bunch more fabric from Italy, but it was COVID. And so everything was super delayed.
Mm.
And so one of the challenges is trying to predict, okay, how much are we going to sell, especially when your business is growing. And even though we're able to act fast with a lot of things, faster than a lot of companies, it's not always fast enough. Or sometimes we order a ton of fabric and we aren't selling a ton for a couple months. And so then we're sitting on it. So it's just, that's a tough,
That
like,
inventory
yeah,
management, the
exactly.
sell through, we are still kind of learning. Again, we're not recreating new styles every single year. We're adding to
Mhm.
our offerings, but our classic button up is probably going to be around for a long time. And but how many if you're going to do a brighter color or
Mhm.
whatever, getting a better handle on how much to make, how much fabric to order. I mean, those are challenges, for any company. And when
Mhm.
you're a small self-funded, it's it's a challenge, and I would say the other big one is the acquiring customers and
Oh, totally.
getting our message out. We could say, we're sustainable. Oh, we're made in New York. Oh, we're this. But, we're actually a lot of those things that other brands would say, well, this is, what we're all about. We're kind of all about a lot of them.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's women who want to feel, beautiful, confident, sexy, and
Mhm.
comfortable and know they can wash their shirt and put it back on. That's what makes them want to buy our product.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
like, for us, the way that we've acquired most of our customers is through social media advertising, and while that's effective, it's also expensive, and also it's not super consistent with the return on ad spend, so really what we are looking to do is get more or acquire more customers organically. And because we're a brand that focuses on basics, even our like celebrity customers, we see them wearing it
A lot.
all the time in the media, everything. And we have photos, and like some of them are in politics, so we can't even advertise that.
Yeah, we're trying to work on how do
Yeah.
we, not polarize
Exactly. We're like,
customer
okay, yeah.
base.
But they're wearing
We're in
that.
Forbes, Time
Yeah.
Magazine, all.
Yeah, we're all over the place. But the thing is, they're often wearing like a turtleneck or our button up. And that while that garment is super practical and they'll wear them all the time. Like sometimes I'll see one of, again, our more like media facing customers, a few of them will wear them like multiple times within a couple weeks and have all these photos. But again, it's just a button up. So
Right. It's hard to
unless,
compete with the
yes,
leopard print sequence that's
yes,
next door.
exactly. Like people aren't,
Yeah.
it's rare that someone is going to say like, "Oh, where'd you get that white button up?" unless they're already talking about why they choose to wear our button up versus other ones, you know?
Right. So
So,
it's not immediately identifiable
yes.
in
Right.
the
Mhm.
press.
Right. I would
Yeah.
say that's a good way to put it.
Yes, it is a
Yeah.
struggle.
And you guys spoke about outsourcing the advertisement. And so I'm guessing maybe the marketing PR side, is that something also that you have outsourced and are using to help with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Marketing, you still
Yeah. Most
do
of the
all of
marketing.
it.
Yeah.
We do have a PR person who we are working with right now.
It's still slow. It just is
It's
what it
Yes.
is.
yeah, it's
It's still tough. I mean, we were working with a larger agency a couple years ago, and they didn't really understand, I think, our brand. We had like some placements here and there, but I don't know. It's expensive. It's so
right.
expensive. And I have zero background in PR. And so we ended up bringing on another woman who is a woman who is by herself doing PR and who we do like more. But it's tough because you're paying a bunch of money and you're shooting darts. And so I would say, like, in general, avoid having to, for other entrepreneurs, if you aren't starting with a boatload of money, avoid outsourcing anything.
Right.
Like
Learn as
yeah,
much as you can and do it on your own
we
for
didn't
as long as possible.
until
Yeah.
2022, we didn't outsource anything.
And what was the
Uh,
first thing that you outsourced? And what do you think is the most important thing?
I think the first thing we outsourced was PR.
Okay.
And because that was, everyone was like, you need more PR, you need more PR. It's like, okay, well, I can't do that. So got to find it. And then that I felt like
Yeah.
was a good learning experience. And we
Right.
got some people who do wear ours, like some celebrities who now wear them a bunch. But for the most part, the like celebrity people or like really prominent women in their industries that have our garments are our customers. Like they came and they purchased from us.
Right.
Wow.
They
Right.
are not gifted.
Mm.
There are very few out there that we've gifted, and the women who buy our garments, they wear them a lot, which is again awesome, but still they're not talking about it enough. So
Yeah.
They don't need to rep us is the
yeah.
problem.
And then
Right.
the other thing that we outsourced was SEO. And I felt like that was effective in certain ways, but was most effective was that our site speed was so slow.
Mhm.
And I'm not a coder. I like, built the site through templates and could edit some code here and there, but it was so slow. And we have so much media. And I wanted to incorporate video and all of these things. And I was like, I'm going to have to delete these videos from the website. Like, it's just so slow. And then the SEO team that we brought in was like, oh, we'll do it. And so then they actually sped up our site speed significantly. And that was a game changer when I came to,
Right. Instant
yeah.
sales results. But again, I would
From
look
the
at this
SEO? Is that from the
from not the
From
SEO,
not the
just the
SEO,
site speed.
So I would say having someone,
Making sure your site
yeah,
speed is good. But a lot of that was a learning experience for us also, so
yeah,
that we are now
Uh,
able to monitor some of those metrics on our own and address them as they're coming up. We've outsourced things, and if you decide, at this point, I don't know that we're getting what we need to out of this investment, at least we've had the learning opportunity that we then can take forward with
Mhm.
us. So anyway,
And that's the business. I feel like as a startup, there's so many, I feel like years of trial and error and just trying
Yeah.
to figure things out, trying to figure out what works well. And so I always encourage people like, if you don't see, like, you don't hit the seven figures within the first, second, or third year, like, that's normal. You're going to be testing a lot and trying to figure
right.
it out. And so that's encouraging to hear that even for you guys, like, you're still learning, you're still testing, still
Oh,
refining.
totally.
Yes. So as a mother-daughter duo, this is such a unique and special thing. I actually had a father-daughter duo on here before, so,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
Oh, wow.
I lo
That's a fun one.
love yeah, I love hearing the dynamics of this business, but I'm curious, what has been the most rewarding thing working as a mother-daughter duo and the most challenging thing?
You can start.
I'll start with that, and probably Margot may have the most challenging aspects to talk about, but the
Sure.
most rewarding as a mother is, for 27 plus years, I have been investing in this human being
And taking my headphones.
and and making her share with me. No, but to see, whether it's her education, life experiences, whatever, and then to be doing this with her, there's part of me that has a step back and says, wow, I am watching my daughter
Mm,
evolve, both as a person and becoming an adult, but also as she develops as an entrepreneur. And it's a lot of fun to see how hard she works, how creative and quick to pivot she can be. And to feel like, wherever this journey ends, I feel like it's been a good journey for us, and she has learned a ton, and she is set up to continue in life with so many more options and opportunities than she may have had without this time together. And, she's one of four, so she has three younger siblings who also have
wow.
been along for the ride,
Mhm.
whether it's modeling, taking photography, fulfilling orders, picking up inventory, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all done it. And so to have a family that's truly just invested in this is our team and this is what we're
Mhm.
going to make happen. That's great. And the rewards are when things go well, it's awesome. When things don't go well, it
It's
it it,
tragic.
it sucks even more because you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Uh,
True.
but
Yeah.
so anyway, for me, I would say it has not been as challenging as I might have thought. She has a very different skill set than I do, and I respect, where what she brings to the game, and I can't. So I think that helps.
Yeah. How about you, Margot?
Uh, yeah, I would say, obviously, I did not raise my mother, so it's a different vibe there.
Yeah.
But I would say, yes, definitely being a part of a family business and especially building something with a parent is an interesting dynamic. I think it's a lot of people like work with either siblings or their parents started a company and then they joined the company, but like as a employee and less of as a partner to build something up. And
Right.
so I think us working together as equals in this company is not only it had its challenges, but it also, I think we have a newfound or a different type of respect for each other than we did even as a
Yeah.
mother or daughter. It's like, okay, I'm going to handle this, you're going to handle that. And like we understand kind of like Gina said, we have very different skill sets. And she's great with customer service, has the most organized email inbox I've ever seen in my life. And it's like, oh yeah, why don't you just make these folders? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that ever in my life. And but for me, I understand I'm an online shopper and I'm a different generation. And so I understand the tech and the shopping world online more than what she does. So there's we just bring different skill sets. And I think, like, again, no one has more stake in a company than a family member who's working at the company.
Yeah.
And so being able to build a company that will hopefully benefit my family and like bring honor to the family, one could say, is I don't know, it feels good, and I know, like, again, my parents have invested a lot into me and my siblings as well, and so being able to be here working with them and creating a business that is meaningful and has a lot of potential, I think, it makes me feel like, "Okay, I'm kinda paying it forward," you know?
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like 2 is definitely better than 1 in this situation, and that you guys are each
Yeah.
Absolutely.
other's secret weapons because you both have something that to bring to the table, which is amazing. If you guys could go back to 2020 when you guys first started, what would you do differently now looking back? If there's anything you would do differently?
For me, I view myself as an accidental entrepreneur. I worked for 20 years as a psychologist in school systems, raised 4 kids, and took something that was an interest of mine and started pursuing it to solve my problem, hopefully a problem for other women, and to see if it would turn into a business. And it did eventually, but it really didn't become a business until Margot came on board. And I think there are a lot of women out there. It's always interesting to me when I meet entrepreneurs who went out to start a business and then they found an interest that fit within their business model, where I just had an interest and needed to figure out how can I make this a business, which I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. It's a slow, limping start, and I have no business skills, or at least I had none to start this off. And I think to be very intentional about, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what that's going to look like, and have an idea of what was ahead of us and what we needed to do to front load would have been a lot more helpful. Margot, being more in the business side of it, take it over.
Yeah, so I would say but I have similar I would say similar thoughts there, though, and so, yeah, when I joined, the business kind of, I guess, had already somewhat started, but it was a very different business, and so, again, we made that pivot, went direct to consumer, focused on ready to wear, but because it had kind of already started and I was, what, 21, 22,
Mhm.
and had very minimal industry connections where a lot of people that start a business are like, okay, I've been working for XYZ number of years and
Right.
I have these connections. This is how I'm going to do it. And so I would say if I were to do it again, I would have to be a little bit older, one. But two, I would say you never really know who your customer is gonna be. Like, you can think that you do, but in the end, it's a little bit of trial and error, but I think doing a lot more preparation before launching instead of just going in blind. We went in pretty blind
Mm.
and kind of learned as we went, which while it's worked out, it takes a lot longer and you're bound to make a lot more mistakes. And
You'll
so
squander time and money
yes. Especially
doing it that way.
But you
especially
guys
if
have done a lot in 4 years, I must say, even
we've done a
like
lot.
yeah.
It's been a lot of work.
But having created your own
Yeah.
company, that it can feel like a long and painful
Oh,
process
yeah.
much of the time.
Yes, exactly. And
Sure.
I think, like, again, if I were to do it all over again, I would probably go in and have do maybe, like, some focus groups, talk to press ahead of time, and put out, like, some teasers to try to gain some traction before even launching. And then kind of go from there and see who actually buys. And I think often doing that kind of research and doing different, asking questions, talking to the press helps you to develop your brand, I guess, faster. And that, like, for us, we had these hero products and then we're kind of just guessing, like, okay, like, what are we going to come out with next? Where now we have a much better idea of what we want to come out with and the types of garments. But it's taken us a while to
Right.
really focus in on that. Where I think if you have done some research ahead of time, you're talking with customers ahead of time before launching a brand, it'll be helpful when trying to expand the brand later as well.
Yeah, those are some great insights and super helpful, I'm sure, for others looking to launch now to consider. Ladies, I could literally talk to you guys all day. There are so many
And
other things I'd love to talk about, but we are getting to the end of our time here. And so I'd love to hear what is next for Luxaire and also where can our audience find you and shop the collection?
Well, what is next for Luxeire going forward, we're really expanding what we're offering, and I'll have Margot speak to that. Again, trying to stick with, a traditional aesthetic and to make versatile, practical clothes that are the staples, the essentials in somebody's wardrobe that you're going to wear again and again and again. We are trying to offer more face-to-face opportunities with customers and potential customers, whether it be in pop-ups or sponsorships. Again, trying to open up our studio more to customers who happen to be in town or who live locally if they want to
Mhm.
come in, letting that be an option for them and just seeing how that goes.
Yeah, I would say definitely wanting to do more sponsorships and pop-ups. I think in the past we kind of avoided that because again, it's a ton of time and money and you never know how it's going to go, but I think as we've grown,
And it's the two of us. If
yeah,
we're
it's
doing
true.
that, we're not doing everything else.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't be in 10 different places at once. If I could, I
Sure.
would, and maybe we would grow faster, but alas. So I would say, yeah, definitely doing more in-person events, especially in like big cities and places where we have a lot of customers. And then, yeah, I'm really excited this spring, starting kind of in, I would say, end of January, early February. We're going to be launching a lot of new styles, specifically a couple of jackets and dresses and skirts. So they're going to be stretchy and all like high tech fabrics that are all
Yes, they're
sustainable.
quick dry,
Mhm.
wicking, UV protection. I did recently meet with some reps from another mill in Italy that has some very interesting options in the recycled fiber space that would offer a little more fabric variety.
Mhm.
They don't tend to be as technical as the fabrics we're using, but they can treat them if needed, to meet our purposes. But I'm looking forward to seeing if we can expand, the fabric offerings that we have also. I've met with many mills in the past, and in the end, our bar is high for what we want for, the comfort, the function, and everything else. And so I'm hoping that this new mill will offer us and our customers some new opportunities.
Mhm. Yeah, so our website is Luxaire, so Luxeire.com. And then our Instagram is at Luxaire, so Luxeire_NY. Those are our two main platforms.
Okay, we'll definitely be checking you guys out. And one thing I noticed was that you guys have wrinkle-free items, so I know where I'll be shopping for
Yes.
Mother's Day because my mom hates wrinkles and she hates seeing me in them. So, uh,
Perfect. Everything's is wrinkle resistant at minimum. So I'm
wrinkle
totally
resistant.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
amazing. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being on. It's been so insightful, this conversation, hearing how you guys started and what you guys are doing with this incredible brand. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine, for
yeah.
the opportunity. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Hey, fashion entrepreneur. Did you know that at makegoodfashion.com, we've curated a library of free resources to help you uplevel your fashion business? Yep, that's right. Just head over to makegoodfashion.com and hit free resources to gain access to our selection of checklists, guides, and downloadable PDFs to help you on your fashion business journey. We have resources to help you find a manufacturer, production checklist, brand identity style guides, and much more. So make sure to head over to makegoodfashion.com or hit the link in the description to get your hands on those resources.